It's Victory Monday. ASU football is ranked. They're 8-2. They control their own destiny to the Big 12. Man, I can't imagine anything more fun to talk about than all of that.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. You can stay in touch by following me on Twitter at RichieBrats36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Victory Monday on a Monday. How unique is that? It's a good feeling, and man, there was a lot of good stuff that happened this weekend. So not only did ASU take down Kansas State, they beat them on the road. They beat a ranked Kansas State team, number 16. They knocked Kansas State out of the running for the Big 12 championship game. You know who's still in it? Arizona State. Just like we all predicted at the start of the year. ASU is 8-2. ASU is 8-2. They control their own destiny to move on to the Big 12 championship game. You win and you're in. You got BYU this weekend. That's a huge conversation that we're going to be tackling for pretty much the entire week. We have Arizona to end the year for the Territorial Cup. That speaks for itself. You win those two games, you're going to the Big 12 championship out in Arlington. That's nuts. And you're ranked for the first time all year. You are ranked. You're number 21 Arizona State Sun Devils according to the College Football AP poll. We'll hold on to that for now because all we care about is the College Football Playoff poll. That comes out on Tuesday. I'm going to try and do something to give you guys like a live reaction from me when it happens, but I'll keep you posted on that. For now, man, they beat K-State. It was a good game. If you watched the game, I think what you should take away from it is ASU had the game in control. If you watched the game in the second half, you would think ASU was kind of losing control. I could see it both ways. I want to talk about the good in this game. So there was a lot of good, and it starts with Sam freaking Leavitt, man. Quarterback one. I challenge you to tell me a quarterback in the Big 12 who is playing better football right now than Sam Leavitt. Shedeur Sanders, probably the only one. I know the Baylor quarterback has been really hot lately. Outside of that, I don't think there's another quarterback in college football that is playing at the level that Sam Leavitt is playing at right now. The last month, the last 3 games for Leavitt have been insanity. 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, around 64% completion. He's dominating. He's beating teams. They're 3-0. One of those games was without Cam Skattebo. The other game, which was this weekend against K-State, Skattebo was probably not 100% healthy, although we'll talk about that more in just a minute. Right now, Sam Leavitt, you're winning games because of him. You don't have Sam Leavitt in this game against K-State, you're losing. And I think you lose convincingly. You don't have him against UCF, you lose that game. You don't have him against a lot of other teams. You're not winning these games. Sam Leavitt is one of the reasons, like the sole reason that you're winning football games right now. Earlier in the year, it was the defense. It was Cam Skattebo. Now, yeah, the defense and Scaboo are still really, really important to your success and all that. If you take Sam Leavitt out of the equation, it's just going to be a little bit different. It also helps when Sam Leavitt has a best friend with Jordyn Tyson, a.k.a. wide receiver 1. Jordyn Tyson. What a guy. What a player. He just had a career day for himself. I would imagine this is one of the best days of football he's had at any level. 12 catches, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the focal point of the offense. Cam Skattebo had 29 touches in this game. Jordyn Tyson was who carried the offense here. And Jordyn Tyson, at this point in time, is one of the best receivers in the Big 12. Now that I could not stack up for you. I don't have the numbers in front of me there. I know there's a lot of good receivers in the Big 12. Jordyn Tyson is one of them. He is already nearing 1,000 yards. He's easily going to hit it with a minimum of 3 games remaining. 9 touchdowns. He's finding the end zone consistently. He's a deep threat. He makes the short catches. There's the run after catch ability with him. He's perfect for what this offense is looking for and what Sam Leavitt needs. He is perfect. And it was completely on display here against Kansas State. It was phenomenal. Anything that you possibly needed in that game, he was able to provide for you. Now, I did want to mention Scaboo. And if you look at the box score, you're going to be like, not that big a deal. 25 carries, 73 yards. That's under 3 yards a pop. 4 catches, 44 yards. Okay, that's pretty good. So that's over 100 scrimmage yards. No touchdowns. It's maybe not the coolest performance, I guess. Certainly by Cam Skattebo standards, that's not the best performance. He's coming off an injury. He also was going up against a pretty good run defense with K-State. And K-State was selling out to stop him. And hopefully K-State is the last team to do this, where they say, okay, Sam Leavitt, you're going to have to beat us. Because that's what he's doing right now, is he's beating you. But the biggest win here for Skattebo, in my opinion, was he had 29 touches in this game. He was still effective. He was still running hard. Yeah, there was a lot of small gains, and there was a lot of whatever. You're probably not going to remember these carries. Like, there wasn't that one play where it was like, oh, that's vintage Cam Skattebo. He had tough runs. His longest carry was 11 yards. It wasn't a Cam Skattebo night, but he still got the job done, and he still proved that, yeah, you can give me a huge workload. I'm going to be able to manage it and help win the game. Sam Leavitt won you that game. It was easier because you had Scaboo. You probably sweat this out a little bit more if you don't have the people's running back in your backfield. One more thing I want to mention before we talk about the bad from this game, because not everything was perfect, of course. The defense. They just make plays when it matters. When push comes to shove, defense steps up. I've said before, I will double down here. I do not like when people describe ASU as bend but don't break. I don't think that's fair. To me, when I hear a bend but don't break, that's you gave up 500 total yards, but you were able to hold them out of the end zone 2 out of 4 possessions in the red zone and in the touchdowns, whatever. You kind of get my point. The way I see them is when your back's against the wall, you make a play. Bend but don't break, you're not making a play. You're just, oh, hey, we were able to get off on third down because it was 3rd and 20 and we stopped them at 5 yards to go. So it was 4th and 5 and they had to punt. That's bend but don't break. This defense is like, hey, we're facing a really bad situation. We need you to do something. And they go, sure, yeah, we got you. And then boom, interception. Boom, stop on 4th down. Tackle for loss. Whatever. ASU's defense, they've done that all year, and they did it in this game too. Xavion Alford early in the game had an interception. To end the game, Shamari Simmons had an interception. Really funny interception. A lot of people will blame Avery Johnson. The thing that sucks, if you look at that play, I think it's receiver number 1. It looks like him and Avery are in sync. And it's like, okay, perfect. I'm just going to like toss this ball to you. You're going to score a touchdown, and then we're going to tie this game up. Or we're going to be down. We're going to be down by 3. We're going to get the onside kick, all that good stuff. Unfortunately, as it looked like they were connecting, receiver goes in, like turns his head. Avery, he didn't flip the ball, but it looked like he just kind of lollipopped it right into Shamari Simmons' hands. And I felt bad because I'm like, I don't think that's Avery's fault. I think that is just a flat out miscommunication because that should have been 6, but it wasn't. And you know what? Shamari Simmons, right place, right time. That's making a play. Defense, they make plays when it matters. They don't need to be this elite unit every single drive. They are not bend but don't break. They are, crap. We just had a bad drive. We just gave up a touchdown. We'll get them next time. And then next time comes around, boom, they got them. That's the way this defense works. That's the way this defense operates. Offense is great. Defense is good. This is not a perfect team. This was not a perfect game. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the things that weren't so good. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy, because 5 Hour Energy, that is what's going to keep you up when you're trying to stay up late for these football games. I know if you're in a different time zone and you're trying to watch the Arizona State games, probably need a little bit of help. If you're a passionate football fan, you know that it's not a hobby. It's a way of life. You need that energy to power through your tailgates, your touchdown celebrations, agonizing second overtimes when they happen. That's why 5 Hour Energy has created the Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like me and you. The fans who are going first in the parking lot and are last to leave, we all see you. You know what else gave me a boost this past weekend as a Sun Devils fan? It was that second touchdown pass of Leavitt to Tyson, and it was a perfect pitch right over the head of the defender. Tyson brings it in and back in the end zone and gets the foot down. It was perfect. It was everything that I needed to get re-energized and back into the game. And that's the whole point of what 5 Hour Energy does, because they know that no matter who you're rooting for, being a fan needs your heart, your soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're preparing for a tailgate, whether you're ironing your jersey, your game day list, it might be a mile long. And that's why we have the limited edition Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot. It's here to help keep you fueled through the season. What's your fan fuel of the week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available at 5hourenergy.com and shipped nationwide. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. All right, this was not a perfect game. There was some bad that needs to be addressed, especially at this point in the year. You're going into week 13, right? Because you've had 2 bye weeks. Should be week 13. Yeah, week 13. I'm going with that. Hopefully I'm not wrong. You're going into week 13. You have 2 games left. You have the most important game of the schedule coming up, one of the most important games that Sun Devils football has had in the last 10 years. This is stuff that has to be addressed. Because if it persists going against BYU, you're going to lose a football game. My biggest question is, I feel like you could nitpick a few different things. I feel like you could talk about, some of the blocking schemes and some of the pass defense, and how come DJ Giddens got crazy in the second half, and why was Avery Johnson and this, that, and the other. There's a lot of stuff you could nitpick from this game. My biggest question was this game closer than it needed to be? If you watch the game, 24-14 was the final score. Depending on how you walked away from the game, there could have been a part of you that said, wow, we almost blew it. Or there would have been a part of you that was like, okay, it didn't need to be that close. We should have been able to beat them pretty handedly. I fall on the latter side. I'll tell you, when I was watching it live, there's a part of me that's like, oh, my crash out is going to be legendary when ASU blows this game. But I tell you, with over 24 hours to process it. To me, it's more of a, we probably should have stayed a little more aggressive in the second half. You weren't passive, but there wasn't a good reason that ASU just dropped off the way they did. 21-0 in the first half, and you score 3 points in the third quarter, and then nothing else. Meanwhile, you give up 2 touchdowns at K-State. People are panicking. They have every right to panic. Thankfully, it just worked out in your favor that you were able to get the stops when you needed to get the stops. I don't think that this was a bad game or a bad second half necessarily. I look at it as we need to be able to close these games. We have to play a full 60 minutes because ASU, they've stepped up to their competition this year. They have not played down to bad teams. Look at earlier in the year. Ooh, they barely beat Mississippi State. We didn't know Mississippi State was going to be as bad as they are. In fact, that was an SEC football team that you were facing in week 2. It was a good football game. Texas State's still pretty quality. Outside of that, you've played up to your competition this year, or you have surpassed your competition. You beat down Utah. You handled Kansas. You had a really good win over K-State, no matter how you want to slice it. You blew out Oklahoma State. They've done all the right things in the conference. But it just this was the game that made me a little frustrated. You're doing the right things. You've played up to your competition. You played up to Kansas State. I said all year this was a loss. Turns out it wasn't. I changed my mind a couple of hours before I recorded the show. This was a game that you played up to your competition, but you should have been able to win by more. This could have been 35-8, 35-10, something like that. And it wasn't. Instead, it was a 10-point win in a game that gave a lot of people, including me, a heart attack. With retrospect, we were fine. But ASU, were they taking their foot off the gas? It kind of felt like it. They take the second half off? I don't know. Where was the offense in the second half? That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. I don't have an answer. Got to figure out what it takes to be able to close a game, play a full 60 minutes. We've seen this from the Sun Devils this year. It feels like there are times where they either can't slam the door shut or they just can't get out of their own way. And it's like you have one really good drive and then you shoot yourself in the foot the next drive, whether that's offense, defense, or vice versa. ASU needs to find a way to be a 60-minute team. They're doing a good job winning the middle 8. They're doing a good job closing games. My goodness, they close games as well as anyone. If they run into a team, if they make the college football playoff, you're going to be looking at potentially any kind of SEC team, a Notre Dame, potentially a Miami, someone like that. And they're teams that are going to challenge you. And if you can't play 60 minutes, you're not going to keep up with them because you're not ready for the talent level necessarily, but you can compete from a coaching standpoint and from a culture standpoint. You can play with anyone. They've yet to look bad against anyone. They just haven't necessarily put people away when they needed to. One thing I want to pose to you is ASU bound to collapse? Are they heading for destruction? It's a really, really interesting conversation you can have. In one sense, you could say, yeah, ASU has surpassed all their expectations, but the show ends at some point, and I hear you. It would make more sense for ASU to crash out the rest of the year than it would to go and make the college football playoff. But here we are. They're right there to making the college football playoff. But who knows? Maybe they're due. I don't know. I want to know what you think, though. So let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter, Richie Bradshaw36, podcast at LO_Sun Devils. We got some takeaways. 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and I've got some game balls to hand out. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you can bet $5. If that bet wins, you're going to get $150 back in bonus bets. The FanDuel Sportsbook app, it's going to give you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. That $5 bet, that can be on anything. That could be on a money line. That could be on an over-under, or it could be on a player prop. You can make it before, or you can try a live bet. Take your shot. If you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, a live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you're betting. That way you know with confidence that you're going to win. When you win, that $5 bet, it's $150 in free bets for you. You'll get started with those bets. All you got to do is win your first $5 bet. So go to FanDuel.com to join it today. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Look, here's the thing. If you are trying to get to the ASU game this weekend, it's not going to be cheap. I saw tickets are around $200. That's a lot for anyone, but the good news, you can use our friends over at Game Time to save yourself a little bit of money, especially with Game Time picks. Game Time picks, they filter out all the fluff. They're going to show you incredible deals on great seats. You're not going to have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. Their curation process they have, it makes it easy to save on sports. But not just sports. You can save on concerts, on comedy events, theater, and more anywhere near you. They got the all-in pricing feature. You're going to toggle it. It's going to show you the total upfront. There are no surprise fees at checkout like some other places will get you. You can also get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know what to expect when you arrive. The best part about Game Time, always and forever, is their lowest price guarantee. Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time ticket coverage, come on. If you're looking for the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, then you're looking at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. One last time, wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. But of course, a shout out, a special shout out, may I say, to my everydayers who are here every day. I got takeaways. I got 4 takeaways, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. I got game balls to hand out, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. Let's start with our first on offense. This is a combo. Takeaway number 1. Sam Leavitt is a top 2 quarterback in the Big 12. And Jordyn Tyson is a top 5 receiver in the Big 12. Yeah, remember earlier where I said, I don't really know how you would compare Tyson to the other guys. I haven't sat down to look at it. That's true. I haven't sat down to look at it. I haven't looked at and compared stats to Tyson and Tedero McMillan and some of the other stud receivers, Brendan Presley, and all the other guys that are in a conference that is loaded with talent. And I don't care, because Jordyn Tyson is one of the 5 best that is in this conference right now. You will not find 5 receivers in the Big 12 that are playing better football than what Jordyn Tyson is right now. There is a conversation that got started. There's another thing. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. People are saying that this season from Tyson rivals what Brandon Ayuk did in 2019 and might be better. I haven't sat down to look at it. It caught my attention. What do you guys think? Tyson or Ayuk? That's a fun conversation, but the bottom line, almost nobody is playing better than Leavitt, and there's very few who are playing better than Jordyn Tyson. And of course, the combination of the two, who's better, Shedeur and Travis Hunter? That's probably it. And there's going to be people that argue that Hunter's more of a corner than a receiver. I don't have a dog in that fight. He is what he is. He's really, really good. They're one of the best duos in the Big 12. I'd love to see where they're at in the country. Takeaway number 2. Marcus Arroyo, the offensive coordinator for ASU, is elite. He is chef's kiss. He's the guy. Is he going to take a head coaching job in the offseason? I hope not. I hope he stays for at least one more year. This is someone who has previous head coaching experience. So that's there and available for someone to kick the tires on. What I'm hoping is that he will stay here for 2 or 3 years, hopefully longer. I don't want him to leave, but it'll give you some time to get everything behind the scenes working, see who's going to be your heir apparent, or if you're going to need to hire outside. But it also gives Coach Arroyo a chance to continue building his resume. It gives everybody else a chance too, for Sam Leavitt to keep learning under him, for Jordyn Tyson to stay in the same situation, for Kenny Dillingham to bounce ideas off of. It's a great scenario for everyone. Marcus Arroyo has been good all year. He was elite in this game, even if they didn't score a touchdown in the second half. He was elite. He was phenomenal. He's almost a perfect coordinator for you. Marcus Arroyo, elite offensive coordinator. Takeaway number 3. The safeties on defense. That is the unit. That is the best unit on defense. We've talked all year, and we've said, the safeties are always seemingly the most productive. You see them leading the team in tackles every week. Myles Rowser has 77 tackles on the year. Xavion Alford, typically number 2 or number 3 in tackles. Shamari Simmons is up there. Keith Abney is really good, but he's a corner. Like, the secondary has really produced this year in the tackle numbers and in the turnovers. And this Saturday was everything that I needed to see to confirm that. Rowser was smacking dudes, which he's done all year. Alford got his 2nd interception of the year. Shamari had his 1st interception of the year, and it was a game sealer. This is a good linebacker room. You're getting production from your defensive line, which we'll talk about more in just a minute. But it's the safeties. These safeties are the make or break of the defense. They are the best unit that you have. I don't know if it's close. They have been that good for you this year. And I am excited to see what happens for the rest of the year and how it looks next year. Takeaway number 4, ASU pass rush. They're not really getting sacks, but you know what they are getting? Pressures and tackles for loss. In this game, Avery Johnson, 24 of 40, 258 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He came into this game completing, what was it? Right about 61, 62% of his passes, something like that. He left this game barely completing 60%. He was under pressure. He was under duress all day. He was making poor decisions. He was under fire. Did he get sacked? No, he did not get sacked. It doesn't mean he wasn't getting chased down several times. There was a few plays where it's like, I don't know how he got out of that. He did. He's freaking Houdini. He should have been sacked, and he wasn't. They still got pressures. They also had 4 tackles for loss. When ASU needed to bite down, grit their teeth, and get it done, they did it. Jordan Crook had a tackle for loss. Caleb McCullough had a tackle for loss. Justin Wadley had a tackle for loss. We really have to start talking more about Caleb McCullough, man. Ever since the Utah game, he's been impossible to overlook. It just feels like he's arguably your best linebacker, especially with Keyshawn Elliott not playing. Caleb McCullough's the dude. All right, let's hand out some game balls and wrap this bad boy up. I've got 4 game balls to hand out. As much as I wanted to take more from my stash, I do have to say them for the rest of the year. We're going for 2 on offense, 2 on defense. We pretty much all know who these game balls are going to. It's not any surprises here. Game ball number 1, Sam Leavitt. 3 touchdowns for the 3rd straight week. 0 interceptions for the 3rd straight week. Dominated another good defense. Leavitt is good. Leavitt is him. QB1. Second, Jordyn Tyson. How can it not be? 12 catches, almost 200 yards, 2 scores. He is statistically having one of the best seasons a Sun Devils receiver has seen in the last 5 years. Even longer than that. He's been great. He was at his absolute best peak performance this past weekend against Kansas State. That's game ball number 2. Game ball number 3, Xavion Alford. Alford obviously got the first turnover of the game and the interception. He also was just all over the field. 5 tackles, 2 solo, and was constantly just around the football, which is something that I was always confident he would be. He's lived up to it this year. And that interception early in the game kind of set the tone of like, oh, okay, so Kansas State is not going to move the ball as well as we thought. They are going to have some trouble. Okay, all right, I see you. Game ball number 4, Shamari Simmons. Simmons, not his most productive day tackling. 3 tackles, 2 solo. Normally we see him much higher. We see him typically number 3 in tackles. He finished 7th in tackles. Tied for 6th, sort of, but Javon's 3 tackles were all solo, so I'd give him the edge. 7th in tackles. Not what we're really used to seeing from Simmons, but he made the big play when they needed it. I know I said earlier I don't blame Avery, and I think that's a mismatch, or not a mismatch, a miscommunication, but you still had to make the play. And he made the play. I'm not catching that football. That's how bad I am. Shamari Simmons is making that play 100 out of 100 times. And he did it in this instance. And it ended the game. So no matter how you slice it, Shamari Simmons stepped up when it mattered most. 4 game balls, 4 takeaways, the good and the bad from this game. What did I miss? What were you guys' opinions of this game? What was your favorite part? What was your worst part? And who were you giving a game ball to? Let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. You can find me at Richie Bradshaw36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. And of course, a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow's going to be a little different. Normally, we hand out some grades and we sit down and we look at position by position. And we say 0 to 100. How did they do? Well, that's not happening tomorrow. Instead, you're getting a crossover Tuesday episode with Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 as we sit down and spend some time talking about ASU potentially making the college football playoff. You'll see for yourself tomorrow, so make sure you have notifications on and you can be the first to check it out. I will see you there. And until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.